our fifth Swiss round matches here in the Dragon Warrior Randomizer 2018 tournament. Alongside Chitin619, I'm Ferran Burgundy, and we have, well, a battle of qualifying attempters here. Yes, the Hangry Canuck and Azreal Ravenheart both 2-2 heading into the rounds here, and they are going to try to get into the bracket stage with a victory here, and we're going to get right on into it. King giving their instructions, and we're going to see what's in the first of the 3 treasure chests.
Ferran, did you see what they got for their spells?
Haven't seen anything as far. Oh, wow. Radiant Outside and Hurtmore to start.
Seems like grinding is no problem for this seed.
Well, early on, that certainly doesn't hurt, especially given that their statistics are so low here. Now, the object of Dragon Warrior, our runners are going to be trying to find and defeat the evil Dragon Lord, and meanwhile, the Hangry Canuck finding not 1 but 2 towns, as Azreal Ravenheart finding a fire-breathing gold man to get things started. And is immediately taken out here. And now we have also Breckenary just up here. So taking a quick look at some of the towns here, man, this is going to be a crazy start to get things going.
And if I remember correctly, this is the battle of the 2-2s, right?
Yes, this is the battle of 2 and 2. The winner will move on to the bracket stage. The runner-up will move on to the last chance play-in race. To try to qualify for the bracket stage. Now, as you've been able to see, they've been working on fighting enemies one at a time to gain experience and levels to get stronger, as well as gold to purchase weapons, armor, and items to help in their quest. Along the way, well, they may run into some enemies that are tougher than they are, including the Golem here for Azreal Ravenheart. And similarly, the Werewolf on Hangry Canuck's side. But they're also going to be looking around for certain key items to trade in for the Rainbow Drop, which will allow our runners to enter Charlotte Castle, home of the Dragon Lord. And we'll also be fighting enemies one at a time to, well, I did mention that already. And, oh, there's a Hurtmore from a Ghost. Thank goodness they have Hurtmore themselves, but Azrael's going to head on back. And so, too, is the Hangry Canuck, thanks to a Wraith Knight.
Man, these monsters must have been hungry for blood for today.
Yeah, I didn't even see when Azreal had jumped up to level 3. That just must have happened in the blink of an eye.
Make that level 4 because it's 155 and is that 13 I just saw?
I'll see in a moment here. Apparently, I'm a little behind behind the call here. We do have 1, 5, 5, and 3. So as you can see here, there's quite a bit that's randomized in Dragon Warrior Randomizer, including the map, the treasure chests and search spot contents, the town and cave locations, as you have the 2 towns pretty much adjacent to one another. You also have the weapon and armor shop contents are randomized, and here comes a couple of levels for the Hangry Canuck. And somewhere along the way in those first 2 levels, they also gained Repel and Heal more.
Could you say it could be a possible Jet Seed involved?
I could, but I'm not going to. I know better than that. I've seen enough of these races here, Chitin. Just when you go, oh, this is going to be easy, something happens, Charlotte Castle, a tough enemy with Sleep and Dragon Lord Breath, golems that you can't run away from in Azrael's case here. But here comes level 4 for the Hangry Canuck. And maybe it's just a little bit of adventure on both of our runners' parts, trying to take on some of these bigger enemies. And, well, it looks like in this case successful in both cases, the Knight and Axe Knight respectively. In Hangry Canuck's case, taking out the Axe Knight, giving not 1 but 2 levels, jumping up from level 4 to level 6.
And I do see a cave site on Hangry Canuck's side, but he gets wrecked by the infamous AK-47.
Wow, what great strength and magic points, but no hit points for Azrael getting to level 6. And yeah, the AK-47, it's a little nickname given to the Armored Knight because, as you've seen, it tends to hit like one. So for the moment here, both of our runners are looking to gain some levels, but also trying to do a little bit of exploration outside of the 2 towns that they found just north of the castle. And the Hangry Canuck has found the cave up to the northwest, and it is Swamp Cave. So it's the transitional cave, but gonna, taking a little bit of a long path around. Perhaps I thought going in to see what the Guardian enemy was, but instead, well, there's an Axe Knight, and it's going to attack in advance, and is just barely able to survive. And a Hurtmore casting takes care of it there and puts Hangry pretty close to level 7.
Well, speaking of caves, I see Hangry Canuck spotted another one in a few steps away from now.
And here comes that level. Two, 3, 2, 6, and heal. Oh, and Armored Knights have sleep. I remember how I said that there may be something a little troublesome. I think we might have found it.
I believe you're right, because sleep, and then the Armored Knight just say, I'll just wreck your face and send you back to the king.
Well, meanwhile, Azrael taking out an Armored Knight, and that's going to be enough to get him to level 7. So about a 36-second differential between them both getting to level 7, and Azrael getting slept and wrecked by the Armored Knight. So already a combined 10 deaths in 9 minutes between our 2 runners. So Hangry, having seen a cave to the northwest, tries to head to the south and finds nothing there. Azrael continuing to explore, but also try to gain some levels along the way. But Hangry doing a pretty good job with the Hurtmore spell and is now going to get to level 8.
We got 1, 5, 11, and 3, and a new spell.
I believe that was Stop Spell.
Yes, indeed, and I believe Azreal Ravenheart just found his swamp cave, so he's not that far behind from Hangry Canuck.
And we see they both head to the to another part of the world, and there's a cave just to the southeast, and it is the Rainbow Drop Cave. So that's where we'll be trading in those essential items to get the Rainbow Drop to access Charlotte Castle. It is known in the community as the Jerk Cave because if you don't have all the items, most specifically Erdrick's token, then the old man will just literally kick you out of the cave, like the jerk that he is. Now, you saw early on about, golly, at this point just 10 minutes ago, that a lot of the statistics that our runners had were in the red, as you see on the screen there, but that has quickly increased to the white, which goes from subpar to white making that climb. When you start to see orange, you might want to start thinking about being in the range if there are some others that are a bit more favorable of going for the Dragon Lord. Once they start to turn green, you know that statistic is at least ideal for going after the Dragon Lord, but at levels 8 and 7 respectively, not so much, even with level 8 here now for Azreal. And make sure to give our runners a follow here, the Hangry Canuck and Azreal Ravenheart, as well as we want to thank behind the scenes MathGirl718 for doing the restreaming, CyberDark86 on the tracking, and Chitin619 co-commentating with myself, Faran Burgundy. We welcome you here to Randomania 3, and not so welcoming is the Demon Knight with Dragon Lord Breath on Azreal Ravenheart.
Yeah, it's for 32 damage. I will just avoid those Demon Knights ASAP. And I see a Charlotte sighting.
Yes, just buried by some swamp, it looks like, on the Hangry Canuck side. So yeah, that Dragon Lord 2 breath, usually you just see that from the final boss, but here any enemy can potentially have it, and when they use it, it does anywhere between 64 and 72 hit points of damage. And Ryu, yes, welcome back. You stepped away for a few minutes, and Healmore was acquired, it looks like at level 3. Hurtmore was part of the start, as was Radiant and Outside, and there were 2 towns just to the northeast of Tanagal Castle, the towns of Cantlin and Breckenary. So a little bit of early on gear was able to be purchased, but really the story so far has been the spell of Hurtmore, allowing our runners to leap up levels pretty well in the early going. And now both of our runners heading back into the Swamp Cave. Now, neither of them really taking a gander at what the Guardian boss is in the Swamp Cave, and it wouldn't hurt if nothing else to take a look, just to see about a potential grind somewhere down the road. But in the same token, they've also been running into more than their fair share of Axe Knights and Armored Knights that they've been able to chip away at to get some pretty quick experience. And that being said, Azreal launching up to level 9 now. 4 power, 14 response speed, 4 hit points, and 3 magic points. And now we have another cave that there's the virtual high five on, as they're both in the Tablet Cave, also known as Erdrick's Cave. No enemy encounters down here, but a nice little walk, which will be made easier with them having the outside spell. And at the end of the trail is a single treasure chest, and we'll see what it has. It is a torch, lighting the way. Now, I don't know if either of our runners, if they have enough for outside. Well, okay, the Hangry Canuck does, but is opting to walk out and preserve his magic points as it costs 6 to go out, versus, in Azrael's case, only having 5 MP, not able to cast outside. If you use outside right after picking up the chest, it saves you about 18 seconds having to walk back. But since they both took that same walk, not really much ventured or gained in that regard. And an Axe Knight taking out Azrael, that's going to send him back at the cost of half this gold. So yes, we had synchronized searching going on, but now the paths have split thanks to the death. Hangry working on a Wolf Lord, and Azrael back in good old Six Town, Breckenary, opting to pass the inn and go and get some items, probably some herbs to help heal. And meanwhile, here comes level 9 for Hangry.
But also another town just came out on Hangry, and it's Ribbledar.
So this will allow our runners to get some early access to keys. Perhaps a miskeying, or a missed input, perhaps, that sent Hangry out of town and back in. So it's going to travel along the outer water walkway and into the only free accessible key shop where you can buy keys at the lowest price in all the land at 53 gold apiece. And those keys will allow access to quite a few doors that will reveal some other opportunities here along the way, including the 4 treasure chests in Tanagel Castle, as well as the 3 that are hidden behind the door in Garenham, as well as the double doors right here that hold a treasure chest as well. We'll see what is in there in just a matter of moments. It is some big bucks. So we'll see if Hangry's going to spend some big bucks, but not until getting blocked here by a non-playable character. Well, should our runners take care of the gold grind a little bit later, Rimmildar is where they're going to want to do their shopping, as all of the best weaponry and armory that money can buy is in there. The Flame Sword, the second best sword of the game, as well as the Magic Armor, the second best armor, and the Silver Shield, the best shield in the game. So Hangry opts to replenish on keys and heads back into the shop, and is going to take a look and probably pick up a large shield. Yep, that'll add 10 defense points to his total, and now Azrael going to come across Rimmildar as well. So the advantage, ever so slight on Hangry's side, but otherwise they've both been pretty similar and in sync in terms of exploration. Now, the only difference being a little bit more limited resources on Azrael's part financially, so not able, as far as I saw, to, unless he might have stocked up on all the keys and only had that little bit left, but we'll get a nice little bit of gold here heading through the double doors. So Hangry low on resources, but able to take out that wyvern, and is going to end up having to intentionally death walk through the swamp, as each of those steps takes 2 hit points of damage, and opting to just death warp back to the castle in this raid. But with Hangry having the keys, we might now see, yes, what is inside the treasury. But first, going to open the back door to Tanagel to have access to the basement that's there, as well as another key shop to be able to replenish, and is going to opt to hold off on checking the treasury, and is going to see what is in the back of Tanagel Castle. And it is a cave. It is Garen's Grave, which has 5 treasure chests in it. Hangry going to opt to come back in a little bit.
And I believe we're about to see the treasury. Never mind.
Well, this is interesting. So, talking to the king, perhaps to save? I guess just in case whatever's in the treasury is less than desirable, he'll be able to just reset and have little ventured in terms of resources and things of that nature. Or if there's gold, maybe to set up a gold grind, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We've got the Stones of Sunlight, some big bucks. Some more big bucks in the Silver Harp, and Hangry opting to reset. And Eternal Newbie noting in chat, wanting to save to find out where the gold is first, so that way you can take advantage of what's commonly known as a gold grind, but also known as a treasure chest glitch, as Azrael picking up the items inside the treasury.
And now the question is, in Garen's grave, what are those 3 treasure chests that contain?
Yes, so let me, that's right, I was working on explaining the treasure chest glitch. So chests respawn every time you go to the overworld map, as Hangry unintentionally did there, having walked an extra step. But due to the programming limits at the time the game was made, the game only tracks up to 8 treasure chests as opened. Every chest opened beyond that 8th chest can be taken over and over again, and usually it's done by taking at least 2 chests from a cave, like Garen's grave, death warping back to Tanagel Castle, where in the throne room, those 3 chests that you open in the beginning of the game, well, they're marked as open, so you don't keep taking them over and over again. And then, theoretically, they would go to the castle treasury, hoping that there is a chest that contains gold, so they can continually take between 500 and 750 gold over and over again, which will allow them to quickly ramp up money to get things like the Flame Sword for 9,800 gold, the Full Plate or Magic Armor, which gives you 24 defense, that Magic Armor being 7,700 gold, and the Silver Shield, the best shield in the game, giving you 20 defense for 14,800 gold. And here in the grave, we've got a fairy water, we've got some big bucks, and we've got a magic key. Now, what our runners theoretically could do is almost, in a sense, a reverse gold grind by visiting the throne room first, opening the 4 treasure chests in the treasury, then you've got 7, and then theoretically opening that fairy water chest could be 8, and that 9th chest could be the gold one with which to utilize the glitch. So there's a number of ways in which it can be utilized and taken advantage of. And Centroid41 noting that we may have synchronized gold grinding, and that could be pretty par for the course, as a lot of what our runners have been doing have been pretty well synchronized. As now a torch in the middle, midway through the grave, as they're about to make their way even deeper. Ooh, however, we see that stone men have the spell of sleep, so that could be rather interesting in Charlotte Castle. Stone men are one of the near endgame enemies, and are guaranteed to be in that final castle. And here comes level 10 for 0, 2, 13, and 2. So no power and marginal agility and magic points. Hit points, pretty good game, though. So now heading deeper into the grave is Hangry. Azrael not too terribly far behind. Trying to get away from a golem, not able to, tries to get away again and successfully does. And needs to utilize a heal more. And here's the last treasure chest, but an enemy encounter, and it's a stone man. He's not able to get away. Does not have sleep cast on it. Tries to get away again. Now here comes the sleep spell. Oh, but thankfully he also has hurt, which does considerably less damage. Still not able to get away. And the fourth time is the charm, and we've got Erdrick's Token at the bottom of the grave. One of those essential items needed.
And of course, he's setting up that death work, which means treasury. He's gonna get that gold grind immediately.
And Azrael looking to do more of the same, and perhaps realistically could have attacked to save a smidgen of time rather than utilizing an item. But now it's always good to make sure that your Dragon Scale and if you find it Fighter's Ring are equipped. So both of our runners, as pretty well noted, are synchronized, going to get their gold grinds on. But also Hangry going in and at least taking one of the two essential items that were in the treasure chest, the Stones of Sunlight, now on Hangry's side.
Then sooner or later, after the gold grind, he's gonna grab those silver harp.
Well, now that's an important thing. Now, let's make sure that Hangry, once he has finished collecting as much gold as he chooses, goes and picks that upper left chest and gets the silver harp and doesn't walk out of there forgetting it and then goes around looking for it. That could very well be something if you're thinking, all right, let me gold grind to get back to Rimmildar to go purchase all the great expensive equipment, that it may just slip his mind necessarily. And if so, that will be a huge turning point in the match if he has to double back at some point realizing, oh yeah, I forgot the harp. And for those just joining us, the treasury here, it has two different gold chests, and actually you can tell that because our two runners are grinding on two different chests. The other two, the upper right containing the silver harp and the lower right containing the stones. The essential items paired up, as all that they'll need to do now is take the silver harp and trade it in at a cave somewhere along the land for the Staff of Rain, and then almost a half hour in, at least Azrael, and hopefully for the moment, okay, good, he does take the silver harp. It comes up as a bamboo pole, but that is not the case here, so they're pretty much all good in terms of their exploration items.
And of course, they're gonna grab their ultimate gear for now until they find Edric's sword and Edric's armor.
Yes, both grinding to over 30,000 gold to try to get it here. Now, Hangry does, I believe, have... Well, actually, I think both of them did check the shop, but they're going to at least take a look here in Cantland so that way they don't have to walk as far, because Rimmildar was all the way through the Swamp Cave. And you see both picking up the Silver Shield, both picking up the Magic Armor. And now hoping that one of the other two shops has the Flame Sword. And yes, Cantland does have the Flame Sword in that lower shop. And both of them immediately beelining for it. Wait, Hangry Canuck, what are you doing? Did you not have enough?
He did not have enough for the Flame Sword.
Wow. Was just a few hundred short. Needing 9,800, but only having 9,562. And now we've got directions of 70 south and 94 east. And perhaps he closed out a little too quickly.
I believe he was thinking maybe that leather armor he had bought earlier was supposed to be enough for the gold, but unfortunately it wasn't.
Yeah, just a little bit short on that, or maybe thinking that there'd be more of a refund on the A return on investment on the large shield, perhaps. So, as Centroid noting in chat, that means that our runners are more than likely going to have to rescue Princess Gwalen inside that swamp cave. As once you rescue her and bring her back successfully to the castle, well, she'll be able to give you an item in your inventory that's called Gwalen's Love, which when you utilize it, it has two benefits. One, it will let you know how much experience you need to get to the next level, but more importantly, if you use it on the overworld, it will also let you know how many paces you are from the castle in two different cardinal directions, whether it be north-south in one and east-west in the other. So Azrael already heading into the swamp cave and is going to take a look at what guardian enemy is in the spike tile, and it is the blue dragon. Ooh.
That's definitely a good find for Azreal Ravenheart, because that possibly means a possible experience grinding could commence soon.
And interestingly enough, is opting to just hack away at it with the flame sword. It is fairly susceptible to hurt more, at least if I remember right. Yeah, it has about a 7/16 chance of resistance, so it's a little. You have a little better than half chance of it hitting. So I can see why you may want to just avoid chance and just smash away at it, and that looks to be what Azrael has done, and is now going to go in and talk to Princess Gwalen. So quickly outside the castle goes Azrael. Is going to cast Repel and make the trek on foot back to Tandagel Castle, as they don't have the return spell as of yet, but thankfully a pretty short walk, and with the spell of Repel keeping enemies at bay that are of equal strength or lower than the defense points of Azrael, that is a good majority of the enemies in the game that will not be encountered while making this walk. So Azrael is successfully going to drop off the princess and acquire the Gwalen's Love. Meanwhile, Hangry having a little bit of trouble, at least at the moment, with the blue dragon. But opts for the hurt more strat, does get it to hit once. He's going to heal more again here. It doesn't hit. Still doesn't hit, and the blue dragon attacks for exactly 18, and Canuck's going to take a death. So now both of our runners back at it again here. So the advantage now to Azrael having Gwalen's Love, and can theoretically go out and find out what of those items it can be. We know that it cannot be Erdrick's Token because that was already found. Erdrick's Token can be in a search spot, or it can be in a treasure chest, as can the Fairy Flute. So we know that there's a coin flip of a chance that either the overworld search spot item is the Fairy Flute, or it is Erdrick's Armor, the best armor in the game.
And I believe that Azrael is hoping that the coordinates is definitely the armor instead of the Fairy Flute.
Well, at least that is a guarantee, whereas there are two other locations that that may be searchable here, and Hangry going to level 10 now here. And those searchable items would either be... Oh, wow. So The distance is there in terms of... oh, wow. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of walking north for Azrael Ravenheart here, who is just needs to essentially go one more to the... Oh, wait a minute now. Oh, that's right. He has to go south. I'm even sometimes perplexed by that as well. And, perhaps it looks like the direction's not quite as helpful as anticipated here.
Even at level 11, the only stat that gained was speed and HP and MP, which is just 4 and 1, and everything else was 0.
Yeah, not a very advantageous level. Oh, man. Bordering on a true empty eye level, as empty eye loves those zero statistic gains. That sadistic individual that he is.
And apparently the overworld item is a fairy flute, so basically there's only 2 locations left where Edric's armor could be at. It could be at Cole, at the searchable spot, or Hawk's Nest.
Wow, it was the flute. I apologize, I don't think I had the push to talk button held down, so I was given a great call that apparently nobody heard.
Well, I got you covered, Piran, so no worries.
I appreciate it, and covered in lots of pain is Azrael thanks to the Red Dragon, and back to Star he goes.
Or, as everyone calls the Red Dragon, oh, the Fun Police is just out for fun.
And McGrew noting the Twin Cities, yes. Take your pick as to whether Cantlin or Breckenary, which is Minneapolis and the other is St. Paul. I'm guessing that since Minneapolis is what most people know of, that's probably Cantlin, and St. Paul, which is the forgotten of the Twin Cities. That would definitely be ideal for Breckenary. So a quick trek through the swamp cave, and Hangry taken out by an axe knight. So if Hangry opts to look for the town of Cole or the town of Hawksness to try to find Erdrick's armor, that could negate the search advantage that Azrael has of already having found the flute. But if Hangry opts to go and utilize Gwaylin's love to find that location, then that may set him back just a little bit. So Hangry doing a little bit of exploring here and seeing a dead end swamp. So Azrael is kind of quietly pulled out to about a 600 experience lead. Now make it 700 and change after the defeat of the Green Dragon there. Hangry, meanwhile, I think might be looking to just explore and perhaps find some of those towns, figuring that'll be easier, and maybe occasionally throwing down some Gwaelin's Love. And we've got a town here to the north and west, and it is coal. Oh, this could be interesting. Heading up, the search spot is Erdrick's Armor.
And for those who doesn't like going through the swamps without Erdrick's Armor, well, Azreal's Ravenheart has no problem going through the swamp now because he's going to be healing every time he walks.
Yes, Erdrick's Armor, the best armor in the game and arguably all RPG history, as not only does it have the 28 defense power, the best defensive power in the game, you heal 1 hit point towards your maximum total with every step. My goodness, it also... so many things, it's hard to keep track of them all. You also take no damage in swamps or those barrier tiles, so gone are the deductions of 2 and 15 hit points respectively for those. It also reduces the damage caused by the Hurt and Hurt More spells, as well as that Fire Breath and Dragon Lord 2 Fire Breath by 1/3, plus it negates the spell of Stop Spell. So if an enemy has that spell, they can cast it till they're blue in the face, or some other color if it's the blue slime, or blue dragon, and it won't have any effect on you if you have Erdrick's Armor. And here comes level 12, 2, 2, 0, and 7, and a new spell. And Azrael nonplussed about checking which one it is. But instead going to stop into the inn and continue the exploration, as right now the main target here for Azrael is the Staff of Rain Cave, I would imagine. And another possible priority of looking for Erdrick's Sword, the best sword in the game. It'll give an additional 12 attack power onto their total, which, given that so far at level 12, their strength totals are kind of on the low side.
Yeah, these levels are like really looking low on everything else except for agility.
Yeah, the strength and the magic points look to be the big concern at this point here around level 11, level 12. And I should also mention that you note the plus signs next to the strength for both of our runners, the agility for Azrael Ravenheart, and the hit points for Hangry. The reason behind that is something you may not have known when you played Dragon Warrior as a kid, is depending on what you enter in as your name, at least the first 4 characters, it calculates some sort of an algorithm and gives a 10% bonus to 2 of the statistics. And ooh, Azrael slept and wrecked again by an armored knight. So based on that, based on what you add, it can give you one of 4 different potential bonus combinations: either strength and hit points, which is what Hangry has; strength and agility, which is what Azrael has. Those are the 2 most common. And then there also can be hit points and magic points, as well as agility and magic points. Those are seldom, if ever, used, at least here in tournament play, from what I've seen.
Question in chat. A lot of scavenger hunting. Did they check Jerk Cave? Yes, Jerk Cave has been found. It's just right now we're looking for the Staff of Rain Cave where they can get that silver harp to turn into a Staff of Rain immediately.
Yeah, so far as caves that have yet to been discovered, there's the Vanilla Stones of Sunlight Cave, there's the Mountain Cave, and there is the Staff of Rain Cave. And also they could be looking for Garanham as well, as Garanham will have 3 treasure chests plus access to some sort of a cave in the back of the town. So that ideally might be one of the places they'll want to go first, if they don't stumble upon a cave and, oh look, it's the Staff of Rain Cave. And Hangry is pretty close in on the Fairy Flute and has obtained it. Meanwhile, Azrael has found the Vanilla Stones of Sunlight Cave, is going to quick mark it down on the map, and the Dragon Scale. Now, for those who missed it earlier, the Dragon Scale, when you equip that, it adds 2 defense points to your total. However, I believe both of our runners have equipped it already, so in this case, it's kind of like a whammy for Azrael. But it's one less thing that can be checked, or one more thing that can be checked off the list in terms of things found. So now, potentially they're looking for Garanham or the Mountain Cave, or ideally the Staff of Rain Cave.
Well,
and one of those towns, 2 caves... Oh, wait. We've got a town here on Azrael's side. And Sports Hefe noting, yes, one less place to worry about Erdrick's sword being located at, as one of the 29 different treasure chests in the game, not counting the 30th chest as automatically being the magic key in the throne room, one of those 29 treasure chests will be Erdrick's sword, but that could include the ones that are in Charlotte Castle, and Hangry has stumbled upon the Mountain Cave. And here is Garanham for Azrael.
So that means backup Garanham has to be the Staff of Rain Cave, because there's no way the Staff of Rain could be on its own right now.
So an herb, gold, and a torch for Garanham. Meanwhile, there's an herb. We've got... There's Erdrick's sword. So we know the Mountain Cave is where that's going to be. So they've pretty much found everything that we're looking for here, respectively. So now Azrael going to get the Staff of Rain. And at this point, if you're hangry, unless you're digging around for the Death Necklace, there's not really a reason to stick around in here.
Well, the Death Necklace could be one other place that everyone dreads for. That could be in the Shark Treasury.
True, but the Death Necklace may not even necessarily be needed here. And yeah, Hangry quickly heading on out here. I don't even think he went down to get that other treasure chest. Yeah, just didn't even bother with it. Now, theoretically, again, Hangry could have cast outside, but is opting to take the long way out here. Or no, he couldn't, because he's only down to 1 magic point. Aha! That's why the long way is being taken here. More of a food source thing.
But don't forget, Hangry has not found coal yet.
Indeed, and now that experience lead creeping up to just under 1,000 for Azrael. Oh, and the Axe Knight takes out Hangry, just ran out of resources. Now, things slowing down considerably in the death department as both of our runners have combined for 18 deaths over the course of the 50 minutes so far in this seed. But by no means has it qualified as a jet seed, as a lot of people were talking about, some 40 minutes ago or so. But I'm pretty sure we're also not going to be here 2.5 hours. That I can say with pretty good confidence.
And Azrael only just needs to finance the Mountain Cave so he can get his Idrich sword so he can start grinding for Sharlock.
And down to his last MP here. One more attack. And is able to take it out. So 2, 3, 7, and 12. And Hangry did take a look at what that spell was, but I'll admit that I missed it. And now Hangry is just a few steps away from Cole, I believe.
Yes, indeedy, because that's the only town that I can see that has not been found for him.
Well, we also have Hawk's Nest has been kind of a mystery here. The only reason it may come into play is as a possible enemy grinding spot, but otherwise, nothing to search for, and there is Erdrick's armor.
And I believe Hawksness is not going to be useful unless it only has that potential grind that they're looking for. Otherwise, they have to grind that blue dragon in this swamp cave.
Maybe, although they have, I've noticed, found some nice spots in terms of, I mean, there have been some good spots for Axe Knights, which are the ideal enemy to grind, but I guess then it's a matter of rolling the dice of running into them, but they do have the repel spell, and they are repelling quite a bit of enemies. So it's hard to say. Speaking of which, there's an Axe Knight for Hangry. So at this point, Azrael is still looking for Erdrick's sword and theoretically could swing by the Rainbow Drop Cave to drop off all the items and take care of that. And Sports Hefe, yes, the Rainbow Drop Cave location was found. Whether our runners still remember where it was because they found it maybe about 45 minutes ago, that is yet to be determined. Hangry not quite looking for it as of yet. He's still looking for the Staff of Rain Cave, which we know is in the back of Garenham. And Azrael, well, his search is going to come to a slight pause as he is heading back to the castle thanks to the Armored Knight with that sleep and attack combo. Hangry, meanwhile, just kind of grinding and walking, and is looking... Eternal newbie with a better memory than I. The Rainbow Drop Cave just outside of the south end of Swamp Cave, which Azrael is heading toward now, perhaps to trade in for the Rainbow Drop. And oh look, Armored Knights with the sleep spell. We haven't seen that before. But both of our runners are able to take it out. And now Azrael has found... Oh, that's right, he has gone back to the Rainbow Drop Cave and is going to get that Rainbow Drop. So now an interesting dilemma here if you're Azrael, because you know that you have yet to find the mountain cave, and you know that you have yet to find, well, Erdrick's sword. So you figure there is a roughly 1 in 11 chance, or I guess technically just slightly bit less than 50-50 that the sword is in the mountain cave. Do you opt to just head to Sharlock, go down to the last basement and search there? Do you try to grind your way through to some levels while looking for the mountain cave? These are the decisions that is going through Azrael's mind. All the while he's looking at the clock. Well, both of our runners are probably thinking that they're behind, considering how swift of a start they had.
Well, speaking of Hangry Canuck, he actually found Garingham, and he's about to grab his legendary Staff of Rain soon.
And you can see Hangry not even bothering with the treasure chest, realizing that there is nothing else that is needed. All that's left is just this one step here, and into the cave. And is going to go and exchange for the silver harp. So now, apart from getting the rainbow drop, Hangry Canuck's borderline in grind and go mode.
Yes, once he gets that rainbow drop, he might as well just grind on something he might want to grind on. Or he could be searching for the death necklace, which is now is possible at the Sharlock castle itself.
Well, let me talk a little bit about the death necklace and what effect it has here in Dragon Warrior Randomizer. Now, you might remember it as just an annoying cursed item that occasionally popped up in the mountain cave in the vanilla version of the game, and if you went to put it on, all it did was basically squeeze your neck tightly and curse you, and if you attempted to go back into Tanagel Castle, basically you were exiled, for lack of a better term. So, what they did to at least give a little bit of incentive here was, if you put on the Death Necklace, you get an additional 10 attack power, but it comes at a cost. That cost is 25% of your maximum hit points. So, ideally for our runners here, if they want to utilize the Death Necklace, they'll ideally want their maximum hit points to be around 130 or higher, as then it will bring them down to 97. And here is level 14, 2, 1, 1, and 7 for Azrael. Ooh, and a blue dragon taking out Hangry. So we have crossed the 1 hour mark of this. And to give you a little bit of a recap, have everything. They found the silver harp and stones of sunlight in the Tangential treasury. Erdrick's token was deep into Garen's grave, all the way at the bottom. Erdrick's sword was in the mountain cave. Hangry has found it. Azrael has not. And Azrael is using the rainbow drop to go into Sharlock. Potentially. Yes, he is going in. Overworld search spot with the coordinates that you see there. There's a big 255 for Hangry, and that's going to get him to level 13.
Yeah, but stat-wise, not so much. 2, 3, 5, and 7.
The gains have been rather marginal.
But we know that Azrael's trying to bet on that Edric's sword is in Sharlock, but Hangry Canuck knows, and us commentators know that it's not the case because the sword is in Mountain Cave. And adios, Hangry Canuck. You just been sent by the golem and sent back to the king.
Most definitely. And Dark Shadow is asking, isn't that a bit early to go to the Dragon Lord? I don't think that Azrael's looking to make a dive to go after the Dragon Lord, as the attack power would almost like Janos said of Vigo the Carpathian, would be like the buzzing of flies to him. So what Azrael's doing in this case is heading down to the treasury in Sharlock, hoping that one of the 6 treasure chests down there contains Erdrick's sword. We, however, know that that is not the case, as Erdrick's sword was in the mountain cave.
The only thing he's gonna possibly find in Sharlock is gonna be the death necklace and some herbs and other junk that he doesn't need.
Well, herbs can be useful. I mean, more so on an actual dive to kind of replenish, but I guess how many steps you take to go out of your way to do so is a question.
But Canuck just got his rainbow drop, and he is possibly gonna be in grind mode right now.
So a couple of interesting strategies here, as Hangry is looking to pretty much grind in this this desert and hill area, hoping to encounter more of those Axe Knights.
Nope, but he found a green dragon for his troubles.
So there's a few interesting choices as far as what to do in terms of a grind. Whether you opt to find somewhere on the outer part of the world, do you go into Sharlock and dive that way? Do you go after the blue dragon that's guarding the swamp cave? Do you even bother at this point looking for Hawksnest to see what the guardian enemy is there? There's options. It's just a matter of which one is the most ideal, especially now that we're 65 minutes into the seed. A slime grind would not be one of them, though.
But here's the funny thing, we have not seen a metal slime all seed.
Maybe they took the day off, who knows?
Oh, looks like Hangry Canuck might be diving to Sharlock just to grind.
That may not be a bad play. Now, I didn't get the chance as I was glancing back and forth to see what enemies are here in the upper part of Sharlock Castle. Now, as long as they're getting things like green dragons, I mean, those seem to be not too harmful. Ideally, Hangry's going to, at least for the moment, be looking for wizards, as Hangry will have what's called damage broken the wizards. Now, what that means is once your defense is equal to or higher than the enemy's strength, it provides a different calculation which gives a fairly low maximum attack in terms of the hit points of damage that they can do to you. Now, in the case of a wizard, with that being damage broken, the most it can hit for is 14 hit points. And perhaps at this next level coming up in a little less than 500 experience for Hangry, might be able to get up to level 14 and get that defense to 86 or higher, in which case he'll be able to start damage breaking Star Wyverns and Werewolves, but Stonemen, not so much. And Azrael now is making his way to the treasury, and we've got golems on the bottom floor. He's able to run away from those. More of those blue dragons, wanting no part of them. Green dragons he's okay with.
Adios again, Hangry Canuck. You just got sent back by the Stone Man.
So it looks like the Stone Man and the Armored Knights are the ones to try to avoid.
And we have a death necklace posed in the Sharlock Treasury.
So not completely for naught, although again the hit points not quite where he's hoping it would be at this point. Even with that 16-point gain, still needs another 30, which may be grindable too. I mean, we don't know how far they're going to have to go at this point, given there's only 55 strength here at level 15. And McGrew is right, almost being like Tim the Enchanter. Death awaits you all with nasty big pointy teeth.
Well, at this rate, Azure has to find the Mountain Cave, otherwise his attack power is not going to be useful against Dragon Lord.
Well, either that or there may be an extra level or two that has to be he has to grind up. And Hangry now opting instead to go into the swamp cave and perhaps try his luck with some of those blue dragons. And Azrael looking to replenish just about everything here, the herbs as well as the HP and MP, and looking to see and go from there. The strength nowhere near where it needs to be, though. And here comes level 14 for Hangry. And given how the issues have been, this may be a time where strength and hit points may be more beneficial. But Azrael, meanwhile, already strong enough to withstand the attacks of Axe Knights, as his agility has given some additional defense. And Dark Shadows, the Fighter's Ring is in... It was in the Mountain Cave, so Hangry Canuck has it. I'm pretty sure... I'm not sure if he put on the Fighter's Ring now that I think about it.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. I was like, has he actually equipped it?
I mean, I know I had glanced down for a moment so I could take notes. After all, Erdrick's sword was in the Mountain Cave, actually in the treasure chest right next to the right next to the Fighter's Ring.
Well, speaking of Mountain
Azrael
Cave,
has found the Mountain Cave.
He's gonna be so glad he's gonna grab that sword.
So this is going to put Azrael pretty much in grind and go mode.
Well, here's an interesting twist of events. Hangry Canuck is not going after the trap tile of the blue dragon. He's actually going back and forth looking for those Axe Knights in the swamp cave.
Well, he's doing that, and all the while also trying to replenish some of the hit points here. Is now going back as Hangry once again. So heading north first is Azrael, and is an enemy or two away from getting the good news here. So there's the sword, and not checking the other chest. So that is going to that's going to potentially cost 2 attack power. But now here's Azrael, who has found Hawk's Nest, so we'll see what that enemy is. Oh, it's a golem.
If I was in Azrael's foot shoes right now, I would say just grind on the blue dragons at this rate. Because sooner or later you're gonna hit those Axe Knights in the swamp.
Well, Hangry seems to have found a nice little spot here in the desert that has some Axe Knights, and has already just gotten 3 in 3 different step encounters, and has already whittled the experience differential down from close to 2,000 to about 1,300. And with that defense, only is going to be running into maybe a handful of enemies, and they're in this area here. So pretty much just werewolves and Axe Knights in this spot just north of the towns here. So this, not a bad grinding spot, all things considered, as it's in the time that it takes here. Well, that's interesting, opting to run away, and maybe that was a miskey, perhaps, on Hangry's side. So it's a matter of, alright, which is more effective? Using the fairy flute and constantly putting the golem to sleep? Or strolling around and, oh, well, there is a golem. So it's hard to say here.
Yeah, but these grind spots like left and right now, it's like it's hard to determine which one's a very good grind spot where you can just be constantly just grinding on the same monster.
Well, it's a matter of checks and balances. You get more guaranteed encounters by hitting that spike tile, but you also have the slightly longer battles of dealing with the golem, and Azrael looking to head on out of there. Oh, and Hangry miscalculating, thinking he had enough to do one attack on the golem to take it out, and instead the golem takes Hangry out.
If I'm gonna take a wild guess, I'm pretty much thinking they might dive a Sharlock around those 16 or 17 at this rate. As I kind of looking at the stats right now on Azrael's and Hangry Canuck side.
Well, that's going to give him a chance to go right back, and that's actually, in terms of replenishment, that's actually not a bad play, as you see the lengthy trek that Azrael has to make to go from Garenham to Hawk's Nest, whereas even taking a Death Warp, it's just not too far from Tanagel Castle, but Hangry instead opting to go back into the Swamp Cave, and I guess is going to go back to the Blue Dragon strategy. Meanwhile, Azrael back in Sharlock.
He has to grind here. There's no way he can get to Dragon Lord right now on his way down to get to more levels.
So there was a question in chat about how many steps, or is Repel's lifespan based on a certain number of steps? And yes, it was programmed at 128 steps on the overworld. Well, here comes level 15 for Hangry. Now, Math Girl asking what strength is comfortable, because you see both of our runners at 55 strength at level 15. As far as going by that grid, it'll continue to be in that white zone area up until 79 strength, and then at 80, it'll go into the orange, and it'll be that way from 80 to 89, and then it'll be green anywhere from 90 and up. And to further answer the question regarding the Repel spell, it only works on the overworld, but you still take the number of steps even if you're in a cave or a town or something of that nature. So the more steps that you don't use on the overworld, the more of a waste the Repel spell is. Hangry going down once again, and still has about a 1,200 experience deficit. So So is Hangry gonna stick around in that zone? Nope, is gonna keep on meandering through, and yeah, if you try to encounter something on the overworld at this point, the best he'll be able to get would be those Axe Knights. As at this point, the only enemies that Hangry would encounter on the overworld with the Repel spell would be the Axe Knights, the Blue Dragons, the Stone Man, the Armored Knight, the Golem, and the Red Dragon. So there's a lot of debate in terms of the strength. Now, to give you an idea of how much they need to beef up in terms of some power, ooh, we've got Star Wyverns with Heal More, and Azrael noping on out of that. The attack power, you would need, golly, you would need a minimum of, I believe, 100, oh yeah, well over 100 attack power just to even do really any damage on the Dragon Lord at all. Yeah, at 104 attack power, that's where you will do a range of 1 to 2 damage on the Dragon Lord 2, which has anywhere between 150 and 165 hit points. So you're not doing a whole lot of damage there. So Hangry now back in Cantlin here. I wonder, is purchasing up some herbs and, I don't know, might be thinking of trying to grind down to 16 on the way. Oh, and there's a death for Azrael.
And he's only like, what, one battle away from getting to level 16?
He was 29 experience away. So this opens the door a little bit here for Hangry to get back into it, but is opting to run away from enemies, and I'm kind of curious of the play here. I guess he's just looking for Axe Knight or bust at this point. I initially thought maybe he's saving his MP to make a dive and hope that there's just this redonkulous strength gain at level 16. And for all we know, there might be here, as Azrael is just a little bit away. And now here's an Armored Knight that he's going to go after. But there's the Spell of Sleep, and here comes level 16.
Looks like level 16 is not gonna cut it. His strength is at 67.
So it's getting there, but not quite. So at this point, at 107 strength, if Azrael was to go after the Dragon Lord, he'd be doing anywhere between 1 and 3 hit points of damage per attack. So even with the bare minimum 150 and max rolling on every attack, which is unlikely, you're still looking at around 40... I can do math good. Actually, I was going to say upper 40s. No, you'd be doing 50 rounds with the Dragon Lord, and nobody's going that far. And hey, there's a Metal Slime, and hey, it has Sleep. And it has the Baby Breath. And apparently I missed, well, as Kaishin Negata, the dodge critical attack. I guess as I was doing my calculations at the moment. So I'm not sure. I'm wondering if Hangry is just at a point of indecision as far as what to do. And obviously not taking a serious dive to go after the Dragon Lord with such low resources, but I think it's just every grind spot that he's gone to has been a path to death. So it's a matter of, all right, what do I do that's going to be the best route? And in doing so, as Sports Hefe noting, yeah, the lead is slowly creeping up. I mean, it's been hovering around 1,200, and now it's kind of closing in on the 1,300, 1,400, now at this point almost 1,500. So I think that indecision or changing routes on a number of different occasions may be something that is a slight detriment here to Hangry in the later part of the stage as we're closing in on the 90-minute mark here. Now, Hangry making it a little further in and perhaps is going to try to take a lengthy dive here. And is able to take advantage of the Star Wyvern, but I don't know. I think Hangry is taking the gamble here that level 16 will be the play, and then it's just going to be a quick jaunt outside, and that will be the end of it here. But ooh, going after the Stone Man, getting a critical hit. It casts Hurt for only 2 damage, but Stone Men have a lot of hit points. So even with that critical hit, 3-shotting it, and that's going to get Hangry to level 16. But still, in terms of leveling, about a 4.5-minute differential between when Azrael got to level 16 versus when Hangry did. And now that experience lead has expanded to about 1,700. Now, I will say that, and the chat noting that the Blue Dragon seems to be the ideal grind, there was a pretty decent spot not too far from Tanagel Castle that had werewolves and axe knights in there, and Hangry was working on those and was chipping away at the lead pretty nicely, but then moved a couple of steps north and found a golem, died to it, and then instantly abandoned that plan. And you have to wonder if perhaps he had stuck with that location, would we pretty much be at an even stance at this point? You figure even if you take a death, that you're only maybe about 30, 35, maybe 40 steps away from going right back to that grind spot. And if you run out of resources, hey, guess what? You're only about 15 steps away from well, not one, but 2 towns, one of which is Breckenary, which is the closest accessible inn, and by the way, the cheapest. So I guess the question is, I mean, what is Hangry going for here with such minimal resources? And the adversary noting in chat that, yeah, cheap doesn't necessarily matter, but in terms of time-saving accessibility, it's a little quicker in terms of a shorter distance to Breckenary by a couple of steps, and then also the number of steps to go to the inn. So it's just little subtle things like that that make minute differences. And here comes level 17 for Azrael. 6, 3, 10, and 1. And based on those levels, it looks like we are going to go to 18. And the adversary asking, speed is definitely a factor. Is Breckenary the fastest entrance to in-town, or is it Rimmeldar? I can't say that I've gone and counted tile by tile. I just meant in comparing Breckenary to Cantlin that one is faster than the other. But either way, they're pretty close. It's better than Garenham, where you have to walk across the town. Same thing with Cole. And Smashy noting in chat that once going to level 18, should level 19 be needed, that all that's required would be an additional 2 agility points in terms of the a level gain at 18, and Azrael will have enough agility to damage break the blue dragons. Now, what that pretty much means is going forward, once that defense number gets to 98, the most that a blue dragon will be able to hit for is 17 hit points.
Well, Hangry Canuck just it's about to found his death necklace.
But even still, it's a little, I mean, it is a little dicey, but you have to wonder if the advantage of the strength hit point build is that Hangry, in getting to level, at this point, level 18, that might be enough to push him over the top to put on that death necklace. Whereas Azrael, having the strength agility build, the advantage for him is being able to defense break more of the enemies and possibly take out the blue dragons a little bit quicker by sustaining less damage. So it's a give and take. There's a considerable difference with both.
And I just looked at Hangry Canuck's current MP, and he does not have enough to survive Dragon Lord at this rate. So basically, he might just take a death warp.
Oh, and slept and wrecked is Azrael. So that gives at least a little bit of advantage here for Hangry to try to chip into that experience differential a little bit here. So Hangry, I guess perhaps trying to get at least a little bit of information while all the way down here.
And Hangry Canuck is per level 6, 3, 11, and 1.
So now that differential between levels is closing in on 6 minutes. As Azrael now expanding that experience lead to about 1,800. A little more than. So the strength of difference, and you can see the 2 attack power difference. A rather interesting decision on Azrael Ravenheart's part, having gone into the mountain cave and checked the chest for the Erdrick sword. And oh, there's another 10 power. This might be the level. Let's take a look here. He is crunching the numbers as we speak. Now with 123 attack power, now he has the 130 hit points that he could utilize the Death Necklace. So that would give an additional attack power and make it 133, so it would be an 8 to 16. And yes, with exactly 11 heal mores, so 13 attacks at 8 to 16, 13 times 12. Yeah, do the math there. That is 156. The Fighter's Ring Game Boy F9 was in the mountain cave. It was right next to Erdrick's sword. And as I was explaining just before the level up, Azrael had opened the chest with the sword, which was the right next to the Fighter's Ring. But Azrael opted to cast outside and left the Fighter's Ring behind. So this could be one of those times. Now the Fighter's Ring, for those unfamiliar, that when you put it on, it gives an additional 2 attack power. So once Hangry gets up to level 18, he'll get an additional 10 and be up to 125. So that little bit of a difference could be rather crucial. I mean, if nothing else, the Fighter's Ring, having that along with the Death Necklace, it may just add an additional max number to your roll. So, I mean, in Azrael's case, if he had it, it would make the range 8 to 17 instead of 8 to 16. So we are now 100 minutes into this seed. And this is why we don't say that something is going to be a jet seed. And chat making reference to having only about 20 minutes to finish here, as we've got a very jam-packed night here for you among the Randomania networks, as all 4 networks are in play at the moment. All 4 networks have action going on, and scheduled for the top of the hour, just a mere 19 minutes from now, we're supposed to have a Zelda 1 Randomizer Pentaforce tournament match right here on Randomania 3 between Fury SK and Your Majesty. So we're feeling a little bit of pressure here, and not that we want to necessarily Heidi this by any means, but yeah, a lot certainly programmed, and not really many places to go here. So I have a strange hunch that once we finish, we're going to be stepping right off and making our way for Zelda 1 Randomizer, as here comes level 18 now for Hangry. So no pressure to Hangry or Azrael, but it might be time to turn on the jets to this seed. And Jake Coper, good to have you with us here, as yes, the Twin Cities by there, they were Cantlin and Breckenary, or respectively Minneapolis and St. Paul, in terms of the love and respect that are had for them by the Dragon Warrior Randomizer community.
By the way, the Guardian for Dragon Lord is actually the Blue Dragon again.
And quickly dispatching of the Blue Dragon, and here is the Death Necklace being put on Azrael's side.
Well, buckle your seatbelts, everyone. Here comes the Dragon Lord 2 fight. Starting with 13 attack damage. And adding to that's 24. $32. $44.
The rolls have not been good so far, and Hangry is in the castle.
$67. $102.
Yeah, things not looking good here. It's going to have to need a pretty low roll on double attacks by the Dragon Lord, running out of resources here.
$159, and Azrael has done killing the Dragon Lord, restoring the light, and he's about to get his way to castles. And get your GGs, everyone!
Well, on the last attack, I guess that was able to do it here. RNG kind of helping out at least a little bit here, as Azrael Ravenheart is going to take the victory here and is going to advance to the bracket stage. Get out your GGs, as he has an official SRL time of 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 11 seconds.
That was a do or die on that last attack, to be honest. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to recover that easily.
I think Hangry got the not so good news, but is still going to try to finish up here, and I believe we're going to have a little bit of time to chat potentially with our victor here, and then we're going to have to make way for another race here among the Randomania networks in the the Legend of Zelda Pentaforce tournament that's coming up in just 12 minutes here. And it was extremely close, and I can let you know before Azrael hops in here that well, actually, we'll wait till Hangry finishes here, as I'm able to see how many hit points the Dragon Lord had. But I will say that it was on the lower side, and it was a good thing too, because if it wasn't, I don't believe Azrael would have made it.
Yeah, he was really dicing on that last few attacks.
So Hangry now working on the Blue Dragon.
And speaking of winners today, GG, Azrael.
Thank you.
So how about that down the wire?
Yeah, when I hit 18, I looked at my stats. I was like, God, I have to go to 19. Then I was like, wait, no, I have just enough HP for the Death Necklace. I should be like a 55, maybe 60% on the Death Necklace to pull the fight out. I was probably pretty accurate there because I had a couple low rolls and came down to my last swing to actually finish that off.
Well, you'll find this interesting when you go back to look at the VOD, but you have no idea how close you were to giving yourself just a little bit of extra cushion, but opted against it, as in the mountain cave, right in the treasure chest next to Erdrick's sword, was the fighter's ring.
Yep. When I was on my way down, running my math again in my head for the Death Necklace fight, I was just like, yeah, there's like 4 chests I didn't check in the entire game. One of them has the fighter's ring. I should have checked the chest next to the sword, but I kind of felt slightly behind, especially after finding Mountain Cave, like a screen and a half north of the stupid overworld search spot, and I was going to stick around and explore down there until I think it was the Red Dragon sent me home. And, you know, that was the most out of the way spot to have to go to end up finding the sword, that I was just afraid that Hangry Canuck might have gotten down there for the search spot, not gotten sent back, got into the mountain and just had sword way earlier, which would have sped up the grind a little bit.
Well, I can tell you that he did get the sword at a little after the 48-minute mark, so it was just a hair over an hour ago, and then not too long after getting Erdrick's armor, which you did get before he did. But the differential was, I think the difference, it was pretty even for the better part of the first hour or so, but it was finding that grind spot to get the levels. You had a little bit more consistency, whereas Hangry, who is just finishing up and is taking out the Dragon Lord now, Hangry had a little bit more of a struggle, as first there were attempts, it was kind of bouncing around in a sense. First attempting in the first floor of Sharlock, then attempting the Blue Dragon in the Swamp Cave. Even at one point, his more successful spot was actually just northeast of the Twin Towns there, the Twin Cities, as he was able to find a nice little spot where he was casting Repel and going after some werewolves and Max Knights. And I'm going to pause on that for a moment, as Hangry Canuck has officially finished. Get out your GGs for Hangry Canuck, running up in a little over a 5-minute differential with an official time of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 29 seconds.
Yeah, I was starting to get to a slight loss of where to grind. One thing that was on my mind was the desert right above Swamp South on the way to Remolder was similar to the desert that was by the Twin Towns. So I had contemplated that. I took a level on the way down to check Treasury for the sword when I was still looking for the sword. And then I was just like fighting on Sharlock floor 1. I didn't get the stats I needed. And then something sent me home. And on that send home, I was like, this is a sign to just Blue Dragon grind. It's not the fastest because you can't really effectively hurt more them. But they don't have anything fancy. You can just beat away at them with a stick and heal more. They're not too far from a town, and just kind of stuck with that.
And speaking of Hangry Canuck, GG to you, sir.
Yeah, GG, Azrael. Like I said, I couldn't find a grind spot to save my life, and I never found Hawksness, so I don't know what was there.
Hawksness was half a screen above Mountain Cave. But it was a golem, so it wasn't really a good grind spot anyways.
Yeah, those coordinates. So difficult for a fairy flute. I just about put my fist through my screen.
Yeah, I got that super early because I was like struggling to find some stuff, and I was just like, alright, I got keys, screw it. Coordinate check, I'm running it. I don't care how awful it is. I'm just going to zero in on the coordinates because if it's armor, I can ignore everything else except for finding the rest of the key items because the token was in a chest that wasn't too hard to find.
No, I had everything. I had the armor, the sword, all the items. I think in under an hour. Just couldn't find anywhere to grind.
That wasn't too hard to find. I think the best spot was probably the Swamp Blue Dragon.
That's what I used for 3 levels.
Yeah, not the fastest, but it was the only consistent thing. Was probably the Swamp Blue Dragon.
Yeah, certainly a series of challenges, and all but the rainbow drop, Hangry, you had within an hour, and even still within 65 minutes, you were able to bring up the drop, and then the challenge in the later part of the game was as mentioned, trying to find that grind spot. You were able to
Yeah, just couldn't find one, and it seemed every enemy I hit either dodged my stuff, dodged it, hit me, dodged. It was crazy for a while.
Well, I hate to cut things short, but we are actually about 4 minutes away from switching things over here, as coming up at the top of the hour is a Legend of Zelda Pentaforce tournament match. I hate to cut things short, as much as I'd love to keep things going, we are going to have to cut things short. However, make sure to join, check out the Discord, as I'm sure there'll be a lot of post-race discussion going on with this here. As well as you can see the randomizer itself and more of the info about the tournament. I want to thank both of our runners here, Azrael Ravenheart and the Hangry Canuck. Hangry, you're going to be moving on to the play-in race, the last chance play-in race, coming up in a little under 2 weeks from now to try to get into the bracket stage. And Azrael, you have qualified for the bracket stage, so that should be something good looking forward to going down the road here. And otherwise, for the fans of the Dragon Warrior Randomizer, you can head on over to our sister station, Randomania 4, where currently going on, about an hour in at this point, is another 2-2 match between It's Too Early and BTs. For those of you waiting for the Legend of Zelda Randomizer Tournament, we're just moments away from that. I want to thank behind the scenes here. We've got a lot of goodies here, including taking care of the restream is, of course, MathGirl718. Also tracking, we have CyberDark86. And for my broadcast partner, Chitin619, I'm Ferran Burgundy, saying until next time, may your moves be excellent and your seeds stay classy. Stay tuned here on Randomania 3. We are just moments away from the Legend of Zelda Pentaforce Tournament match coming up.